Ron, welcome to Millionaire University. So excited to have you chatting with us today and sharing your entrepreneurial vision, story, history, all the things, all the way into what you're doing right now. Welcome to the show.
To me, and looking forward to share some info.
Cool. So I love to hear just context so people can find out what you've done in this crazy world of online entrepreneurship, regular entrepreneurship, I guess we could call it. What has been kind of your journey in building your own business and taking that unconventional path? That's not the job. That's not the traditional way of earning money.
Yeah, it's been quite an event, if you will. So, I was in like corporate digital marketing for like 10 years. Got out of that. Well, I didn't get right out of that. While I was working full time, I created a website on the side. Actually, multiple websites on the side that failed, and then I created one on the side that started to kind of get some momentum. And that at the time, it's been rebranded now, but it was Jobs for Felons Hub, and it was the number one website on the internet to help people who had felonies on their records get employed again. At the time, and now it's different, but at the time there was like, I think 3 other websites that did this. And they didn't do a very good job. So I kind of saw the opportunity and I jumped at it and tried and ended up doing pretty well. I took that. I wasn't making a ton when I left my job, but I really, really, really wanted to work for myself. And I just have, I really wanted to do websites for such a long time. So eventually it got to where I think I was making like 500 or 1,000 a month. And I had a lot of money saved. And I said, I'm going to take the leap for a year. And literally 11 months in is when it actually started to work out, thank God. And then, from there, I basically kind of saw that, you could create a website and it was kind of a repetitive model in different niches. So I basically at that point said, okay, great. And we're just going to repeat this over here and over here and over here, and just did multiple websites. Still failures along the way, but enough successes to where I was able to turn around, sell those, make some good money. And yeah, that was for the most part.
Cool. So flipping websites, it wasn't necessarily websites for hire where you were doing service. You were literally building these sites for the intention of monetizing them with ad space, I'm assuming, and then having enough hits on the site that you could sell it to people and kind of be a business in a box, essentially.
Exactly. So at the time, and I'm sure we'll get into this with AI and how things are kind of evolving in this space, but at the time, content marketing is really what the focus was. And it was just hiring a team, depending on how many writers I needed, but just hiring them to help me create content for it, doing the keyword research. In other words, the whole model was really predicated on getting traffic from Google as a search engine. That was like the biggest thing. And, like I said, that's adjusted a little bit now, but I would hire people, create a bunch of content, put it out there, and then just continually market with organic search was the biggest thing. Build, get it to a point to where it was going good, mostly with ad revenue, like, Google AdSense, where Google will serve the ads for you, a lot of that. And then also got into some affiliate marketing. Sometimes I sold leads, like with the Jobs for Felons Hub site, I ended up selling leads to lawyers for expungements, things like that. So it was really creating it. I mean, once you have the traffic with a website, you can kind of figure out where to go from there, right? Like traffic is the most important part, and that's, kind of how do I monetize along the way? And then once you've really got it, then it's how do I monetize better with what I already have, which is basically what I dove deep into. And then, like I said, when I couldn't figure out other ways to monetize it, I just turned and started focusing on other websites instead.
Cool. And then what led you to eventually even realize the capacity to sell the website? Or what was the incentive for you after you had built something that was essentially generating passive revenue from the ads or whatever? What was the motivation to want to sell it? And where did that idea even come from to see, oh, we could just hand this off to someone else and be done and build something new?
Yeah. So I will say too, I'm like radically transparent about earnings. I had income reports on one of my websites. So at a time, that website alone was making like $700 to $1,000 a day, which was just insanity.
Wow.
And it was doing really, really well. And then what I started to notice, and this gets to your question, was that other competitors were coming into the space. I actually did a podcast. It was a beginner mistake. I did a podcast that was very popular. And after I did that podcast, I want to say 2-3 months after, I started to notice other sites popping up that were in the niche. Dumb move on my part. Anybody who's watching, if you've got something that's working, just be quiet. Don't tell anybody about it. Just keep doing it. People will steal your ideas, whether or not you believe it. So that was starting to happen, and I was getting to a point to where we were not focused on publishing new content, but revising old content, which was another part of websites that you have to do. And it just got to a point to where I was doing it and it was stressing me out more than it was being helpful to my other projects. And frankly, I just had somebody that was like not full-time, they were part-timer. They were just focused on the revisions. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to expand this further. There really wasn't much, you could go the whole angle, like getting into social media and really going hard there. Just wasn't something I was going to do because I wasn't just devoted to that project. So I kind of lost the passion for it. I saw that other people were coming up and I just said, hey, now's the time to, sell. And I just was looking online at, I mean, I'm pretty involved in the space, or at least I was. I'm not so much focused on it now. But I was basically, I had a lot of contacts and kind of turned to people and say, hey, where do you sell these websites? And usually the way it works in a website, it's a 35 times monthly profit. So 3.5 if you're doing annual. Which is a pretty good, it was pretty good, like for what you're able to get. Because the thought is, 35 months from now, is it going to be making the same or more or less? And that was, for me, that was a pretty easy equation because it's like, well, I'm not focused on this and revenue slowly dropping and more competitors. And I thought, I'd rather just take the money and walk.
Yeah. So at that point, it's kind of just more of you can't just set it and forget it. You have to keep evolving it. And it just wasn't even worth the effort or the intention and the time spent or the money spent to upkeep it. It was just easier to say, this isn't even something I want to pursue. Let's hand it over so it has a better chance of staying really relevant, doing really well. And so for a buyer of a website, I like to think about it from all angles. They're having the advantage of, I do want to step in. I do want to make this better. I want to continue to keep up with the content. I love the subject matter and I can already step into it without having to build the SEO, build all the credibility. And it's just a done deal. So that's smart for both parties, I guess.
Yeah. And I will say, actually, so just a quick tangent. So again, radically transparent about everything. So it was on sale. It was going to go for $500,000. And actually, I lost $236,000 in a matter of 6 hours because a partner. So we showed jobs on that site, and we made it so that the job search was as accurate as it could be, because it's really difficult to say, yes, they'll 100% hire those who have a felony on their record. But we purposely customized it to where different industries and things that were most likely, based on our knowledge, was able to get hired. And then for whatever reason, they had a leadership change up top, right when, like a month before we sold it. When that happened, we actually went to sell it, and the whole deal almost didn't happen. Because the person was like, well, that was like 50% of the revenue. It really, but the only reason I'm telling you that and telling anybody listening that, sometimes you get kicked, you get down, and it was the highest of the highs, the lowest of the lows. Luckily, the buyer was still willing to go with it. And I was clear and transparent, like, hey, it's going to need work. This is what's happening, blah, blah, blah. And it did work out for all parties. So yeah, we all left happy, but just a little lesson there. Sometimes it can be pretty brutal in entrepreneurship at times.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure even if you look at it through the lens of when you started this website, to have thought that it was going to amass even that much wealth, even with the loss, like not something most people even gamble on thinking being a potential. So to make that kind of money with the effort that you put into building a website, I think people are still, I know sometimes even I have to wrap my mind around this, the potentials that exist with the online space. We're entering a whole different Wild West with AI. I know we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Yep. But it's really just, as entrepreneurs, I think sometimes it's important to say, you don't even know what the big payout is going to come from. You invest the time, build something, like do whatever's working right now, find your little in with it, and the paydays are going to come. And yes, there's going to be some hard knocks. There's going to be moments where you don't get the full payout, but the payout you got was still far greater than most entrepreneurs can even fathom to make from selling one thing. So I think it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, 1,000% accurate. I never would have guessed. I think originally I was hoping for like 5,000 a month at the peak. And I remember in that podcast interview that I mentioned earlier, the guy said, I could easily see you making 10 grand a month with this. And my eyes bulged out of my head. I'm thinking, how? And then as I got more experienced and as I built it, I realized, actually that's undershooting it. So, and again, it was the perfect combo because it was a website that really helped people. That was the focus of the site. It just so happened that was highly monetizable as well. And I wasn't charging people stuff. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of like, it's almost like a Facebook, I'm not charging you anything. You can use it for free, but there was ways to make money on the back end, it was like the perfect feel-good project at the time.
Yeah, that's amazing. So talk about that now, the landscape for that now. If there's still a market for something like this, we have had major changes with SEO, websites as a whole. Like the digital landscape just looks so different. So what is your hot take on that right now?
Yeah, okay. So to preface, I focused on content marketing, SEO. I haven't completely left the space, but I've almost entirely left the space. because the business model that I did pretty much isn't really sustainable anymore. You could still get lucky here and there, but the problem is Google, everybody listening, you do a search and now you get that AI overview at the top. That used to be a website. So now it's the AI overview at the top. It's, 3, 4, sometimes 5 ads, followed by maybe, local places or local products. I mean, there's plenty of results pages that's literally one organic listing all the way at the bottom. If that's the case, you have 0% chance of getting seen. Like usually people click position 1, 2, 3, that's it. And with AI overviews, it really changed it, which is going to be interesting to see what Google does too. But anyway, the point is that whole business model is cooked essentially. Now I do know, because I was well connected in the industry. I had, at the time I don't want to say I guess maybe a small time influencer in that industry because I had my own YouTube channel, et cetera. And I actually had gotten quite a bit of, I guess you could say respect from others. And in that time, I met a lot of different people. And I know that there are still some people that are creating websites. And what they're doing is they're utilizing mostly Facebook, sometimes Pinterest, or other things. They're actually getting people into their pages, like Facebook pages and Pinterest, et cetera. And then having them go over to their website. There is still a play where you can do that, like traffic arbitrage and that. I had no interest in that. I've never been a huge fan of social media in general. I mean, I use it out of necessity for business, but it just wasn't something that I wanted to play in. I don't like the whole viral thing. So can it still happen? Yes. Is it a totally different business model than I did? Yes.
Okay, good to know. So what have you pivoted to after that? And I would actually be curious to know, before the pivot, how long were you in that business world where you were buying, building, flipping websites? And, I know you said you made like $1 million doing that. So how many times did you have the successful sale? And then did you have any not so successful ones? Maybe not so much the first one where it was like less than you'd hoped, but really websites you built that never sold or never really got the traction that some of the others did?
Yeah. So, okay. So I want to say that I lucked out. Maybe it was God, I don't know. But here's basically what happened. So, okay, when I was in the industry, so first off, to answer your question, I was there for 8 years. I was doing content marketing websites for 8 years. When ChatGPT, I think it was 3.0 or 3.5, which was the first real public iteration of it, came out, I hit the panic button because I was like, we're done. This is over. I recognized it very early. I told some of my colleagues, hey, this is it, blah, blah, blah. They all said, this guy isn't following it. It'll all be fine, blah, blah. And my whole thing is I was like, no, you do, because I'm really into AI and just understanding it and the ecosystem of it. I use it all the time for so many different things. And I was just basically like, no, it's going to learn exponentially. It's going to go so quick. So right when that version hit, I saw the writing on the wall and I said, I have to sell all my sites, every one of them. So I sold all of them. There was a few that I sold in between there. Honestly, if you're asking how many sites have I sold, I actually don't even know at this point, probably like 7 to 10, but I don't know, 7, 8, something like that. I actually don't know the exact number. I'd have to look. But basically, I sold a few in that time. And then when that happened, that was when I said, we got to offload these now, because I knew that the writing was on the wall. Luckily, now I look like a genius because obviously the writing was on the wall. So I did that for about 8 years, did that, sold it all. And then after that, I had another wonderful part of an entrepreneur, especially digital. I had I want to say a crisis internally because I did this for 8 years. It was all I knew. And it was like, what do I do now? I mean, it's quite a shock to get in a situation where you do things, you really dial it up, you're really well known, and then it's just gone overnight. And that can happen with digital entrepreneurship. So I basically was trying a bunch of different things. Are you familiar with the Amazon influencer program at all?
Yep. Okay. I'm an Amazon influencer.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yep.
So my wife was looking for something to do at the time. And I looked at it and said, hey, you can do this Amazon influencer thing and just review products that we already have. So she did that for a little bit. And then it started to make, I don't remember, like, I want to say $50 to $100 in a month. And I said, hey, this is a gold rush. Like, we need to go really hard here right now because it's early. And this was probably like 3 years ago. I don't remember exact 3 years ago. And at the time we were able to build that up to really substantial numbers, almost as much as I was making with the websites, which was crazy.
Wow.
It has since tapered off a lot. We don't even do it anymore because there's just so much competition. but it was something that I recognized the trend, and I said, let's just go all in on it. We were both doing 10 reviews a week of products, to give you an idea. We were also spending around $5,000 to $7,000 a month in new products to
Wow.
get products in, reviewing them, and pushing them out. Most people can't do that, understandably. For me, it was easy because I had these business costs that were in websites. Well, guess what? I don't have those costs anymore. So I literally just shifted the budget over to this, and it worked out, thankfully.
Wow.
So we did that. Now that's more of a passive thing. I don't really, it doesn't make nearly as much. We don't focus on it. But I pivoted that for, let's say, a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And then now I've pivoted into YouTube completely because it's still content creation. And another reason is I'm thinking, what are the things that AI can't do? Because now, some people may not realize this, anybody listening, if you think AI is not coming for your job, you're lying. It is coming for your job. It will make an impact. There's literally not a single job that'll be safe. I know that some of them it'll take longer, manual labor jobs and that, yes, it will take longer. There's no doubt about it. But it is coming for like pretty much every job out there. And if you don't believe it, talk to me in 5 years. It's actually going to be scary what happens. But yeah, so I basically was looking at that and think, okay, what can AI not do? So AI can't do me. It can't create me. So I decided at that point, let's do more YouTube. And I have the one channel is a YouTube channel. It's 1 Hour Professor, which is actually the name of one of my sites that I still own, 1 Hour Professor. It was like my home base, if you will, while I was building websites and talking about that whole process. So it's that. And then the second one, so that's kind of like a secondary thing. The primary one is called, right now, I just changed the name. It's called AI Investing Insights with Ron. And it's a finance channel where I lean on and talk with AI to give investment ideas and knowledge while incorporating AI heavily because, it's just smarter than we are. And I'm humble enough to know that. So.
Well, and it's funny. Okay, so I want to challenge that when you said like AI can't create me. What is your take on HeyGen and some of these AIs that literally, I just got a notification yesterday from the software we use to edit the episodes to script, and it's like, hey, we have new avatars. So when you say you can't be replaced, can you just go a little deeper into what you mean by that, where we do live in a time where you can replicate yourself? What do you feel like the value is for people to understand? Okay, so this is why YouTube is still viable, or this is what I should really be thinking about differently since some of these other things are replaceable.
Okay, so on YouTube, when you watch a YouTube channel, you watch for the content, maybe you click, you see a good thumbnail, you click into it, you watch it. You're not really there just for the information most of the time, unless it's like a random tutorial or something. If you really follow someone, you're a true follower of that person, you're following the person. Notice how I said person. It's not the channel. You might not even know the channel name, but you know the person and you keep getting served that person. The people are the reason. They are the thing that's going to stick. And what I mean by AI can't replicate me, yes, HeyGen exists. All these platforms exist. And I've actually tried to replicate myself for just what I was going to do as a faceless channel to just try something else. It was actually, I had a lot of different ideas, but I was going to do that. Number one, it's really not good enough yet. Doesn't mean it won't be good enough. I'm sure, you give that like 2 years maybe, and it probably will be. But even if it is good enough, let's say it is, and it is perfect and is even better presenting than I am on camera, great, because people have an affinity to me, and now I can be more efficient by using my avatar. It's still me. I'm my own copyright. You can't, literally AI cannot steal me. It can't do it. And if it does, I could sue it. So like that's a situation where I am me, and if you try to replicate me exactly and put me out there exactly in another form of video, I could say, no. This is me. Here's my face. Like I have proof, right?
Yeah.
So that's my thought on why AI can't mess with that is because you are your own copyright. Now, if you're doing a faceless channel or you're using an avatar that's a digital one, yes, that can be stolen. But if it's just you as a person, no one can steal you. And if they do, there's got to be eventually some lawsuits out there for that. But just look at any celebrity. If anyone tries to use any celebrity, what happens? They get a huge pushback. It gets pulled down. I don't think that that's going away. And I think that the future is, I don't want to call myself a futurist. I'm not. But I think the future is going to be most people in the metaverse. I think that whether you like it or not, I think a lot of people aren't that pushing that hard to make things happen. They'll be in the metaverse. They'll be wearing these goggles in their little apartment. I think universal basic income will be a thing because those people will be displaced by AI, so many jobs. And then I think that a lot of people are going to be there, and entertainment's something that's not going to go away. And
Mm.
knowledge is something that's not going to go away. So in my eyes, at least, and maybe I'm wrong, it's one of the very few AI future-proof types of industries that you can get into right now. Again, I could be totally wrong and, saying things that make no sense to anybody out there, but I so far I've been mostly right on my predictions, and that's how I feel. That's what I feel like is going to happen. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. We'll take your word for it for now. It sounds like you were kind of on the money when it came to ChatGPT taking your job.
Yes. So
And
far.
so, yeah, so far, so good. Why YouTube? Like, what's the strategic focus that you have with that platform specifically? I mean, I know you've shifted out of websites for a very good reason. And I think the searchability and things like that with social platforms like YouTube, you just have to think differently about it. So I'm just curious for you what your strategy is moving forward with YouTube. What do you see the advantages being? Why that platform, all the good stuff, like sell YouTube to us as a viable business
Yeah.
platform to still grow on.
Okay. So first off is the AI thing, no one being able to steal you. Second thing is just if you want to create a brand now, I created multiple brands on websites. That's kind of dead. So for me, creating a brand is something that I find pretty easy to do because I've done it so many times. And YouTube is obviously one of the best ways to do that. You can still do it on social media and that, but even TikTok, Instagram, even YouTube Shorts, those are shorts. My wife has a shorts channel. She's from Brazil. She has 3.2 million followers. She's very, very large in Brazil. And even still, I would bet you that probably half the people don't know her name. They just kind of like the content. So it's really about building a brand. And I think that YouTube, most people just look at YouTube and say, okay, well, we can create videos and we can make ad revenue. Yes, that is like the bottom of the barrel. And I know now, after all the years on websites, and a lot of the learnings have kind of shifted over, ad revenue is always the bottom of the barrel. There are so many better ways to monetize. So now, for instance, with the 1 Hour Professor channel, basically any video that I make, I have some type of small like hook. Well, I should say some type of small thing to sell, some type of product to sell. Call it $37, $17, whatever. And then I'm upselling them to a much larger high ticket item. And I talk a lot about helping small business owners. So like one of the videos that I recently published was like the best website builders for small businesses. I think it was something along those lines. And I get people in and I say, oh, okay, well, if you want this, if you want this website builder, here's all the links. They click, I can get an affiliate commission. But a step further from that is I'm actually also upselling them into, do you want me to create your website for you or my team? My idea is to kind of pair services with the actual offer, like with the channel. So, creating YouTube content and getting it out there, it's still very highly searchable. People still go on to YouTube specifically for longer form video. Dan, with your what you just said about that, there really isn't a competitor to YouTube. Who's competing with YouTube? I mean, there's really not one still. Like there are technically competitors, but frankly, no one's even remotely close. So it's one of those situations where people will go to YouTube just like they do Google, and YouTube is the second largest search engine. People will go into YouTube and they'll search, I need a tutorial on this particular thing. And when they do that, I can be there to serve the result, to serve a video to help them, get them into my ecosystem and funnel, et cetera, and then push them to a higher ticket item. And because I'm helping small business owners, it's highly monetizable in that way to where I can talk about, building websites. I can talk about marketing, so many different things. So that's really I call it RoboFinance because that's the new one, the AI Investing Insights, which again, I just changed the name of. That one is more affiliate, and I don't have any high ticket item sales yet. It's still a pretty early on channel. I think I have like 500 subscribers or something. It's relatively new. So that particular channel, my thought is I'm going to use affiliate, and obviously display ad revenue won't hurt. But the bigger thing eventually is to get into some type of product, courses, software, something that makes sense for that audience. So I still have to discover what that is. I'm just, right now I'm not really worried about it. I'm trying to at least get to 1,000 subs. And then, because, actually what I will say about YouTube, anybody that's doing it, it's way harder than you think. I did websites for a long time. It's very difficult with YouTube. So.
Yeah. Well, is it just because there's so much competition and so much noise because it is such a huge platform that doesn't have a lot of competition? So you have to really be like a game. It's not something you can casually do. It's something you really have to be super intentional about. Would you say that's what makes it harder? Or are you just saying even just the content creation itself for YouTube is a lot more arduous than building out a website?
I think that, especially with finance, there is a lot of competition. There's no doubt about that. And now I was finance, now I'm pivoting into investing more or less, and focusing more on investing because I know it's kind of, that was an area that seemed to do well on my channel. So it definitely is more crowded, for sure. But for me, it's the psychology around YouTube. Most people just think like, oh, I create a video and I post it. Like, yeah, if you're doing a vlog, like, and you do light editing, that's what it is. But if you're trying to create an informative video about, the top 7 stocks to invest in right now while tariffs are happening, right, which is a hot topic in the US, et cetera, all around the world, there's a lot of different things psychology wise that you have to do. I mean, the intro, you may think like, oh, I'll just create an intro and just kind of, figure it out. I was like, no, that's not how that works. To do things right and to really grow, there's so much thought that goes into it, the different emotional triggers, the hooks that you have to have throughout the video, getting them to watch another video, getting them to hopefully subscribe. There's way more psychology involved in it, because you have to put yourself in the viewer's perspective and think, how would they react to this? And that has been very, very challenging. I feel like I've gotten a lot better at it. I'm definitely not an expert in it yet, but I'm putting a lot of thought into that. So that was a big surprise, because I previously did a YouTube channel. Was kind of just throwing stuff up, and I think I got like 20,000 subscribers or something doing it that way. Nowadays, it's not that. And I don't have like a super swanky, unbelievable. I mean, you're looking at my studio behind me. It's nothing crazy good, right? But there's just a lot more psychology, and if you want to appear professional in a crowded niche, it's a lot more difficult than you think. I'm sure there's other niches that are easy if you're doing pranks, things like that. Here's a cool prank idea, but there's still, even like if you watch a Mr. Beast video, there's all these hooks throughout the video. And once you've done it and you watch something like that, you see all the hooks that he's doing and you understand, he just did a confusion, emotional trigger. He just, you think of those things as you're watching it because now your mind is trained that way. So there's a lot more to it. If people just think that you record a video and post, no, there's so much more to it. That was a surprise to me.
I think what you're saying applies to all social platforms. As somebody who is a content creator and has done a lot of observing, and I think the frustration for me was I can't watch and learn. I literally have to do, and it almost alters your brain. I was telling a friend yesterday that the more I create, the action breeds more creative ideas, obviously, but also you start almost speaking a different language. The more you start to create, the more you start to understand, and it clicks for you as the creator. You start to click and understand, oh, now I get why I like the videos that I like. And you can analyze the heck out of that, but I think there's nothing that replaces just starting to make the videos and understanding how to bridge that connection between what do I know and how was this best received. Back even like 8 years ago, when very few people even knew how to live stream, I remember it didn't take a lot. Like if you were just brave enough to show up and go live on a camera, you were going to have success. There's a lot of people who I think are struggling because the ways that worked before, business as a whole, online business as a whole, was so much simpler. And now you have to be so much more intentional, thoughtful. So yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. We're just in a very different era, and it's great. It's exciting, but it does require a lot more work, which is why it's cool that we have tools like AI to leverage, because without that, I think we would probably burn ourselves out trying to also be the thinkers and the innovators and the creators, like as far as ideas go. So I'm curious to hear how you are leveraging AI combined with just the action taking that breeds the clarity to help you. Are you using it for your YouTube channels, and in what capacity?
Yeah. So for me personally, there's a lot of different AIs that I use, but the main thing is when I'm creating a script for my video, I am heavily using AI. I use different AI, I guess, models out there to make sure that the information is accurate, because that's one of the most important things, especially with finance. You want to make sure you're not saying something wrong because people will call you out. And plus, I'm not, I always have to say I'm not giving financial advice, which I don't feel like I am, but it is educational. And it's something that, here are 7 stocks that are doing well right now, right? But you want to be really careful. And I'm not someone that's just like pumping different cryptos or anything. That's just not something I'm going to do, right? So you have to be careful with the AI, but using it a lot to help with the scripting. And I have really created gone really deep into prompting. And for those that aren't too familiar with AI, prompting is when you basically write a directive, you write something for the AI to do for you. I've gone really deep into that and really specific across a lot of different things to help me create the content. And then the scripting is there. It comes to me. I've gone to a lot of different experts in the field of like writing scripts on YouTube. This is just a helpful hint for other people. I have pulled the different transcripts from those YouTube videos of experts talking. I have uploaded those into a GPT. I am now using those as best practices for all my own script writing. I've done that like a lot. I've spent many, many hours doing that. So doing that sort of stuff to really help really get a script. I mean, when I get a script out, it's probably, I want to say 90% good to go. I still give it a read through. I still edit it because sometimes it gives examples or something stupid that I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. But it's about 90%, which is great. Then what I do is I'll also, when I come up with an intro, I have basically broken down, here's how I want you to do the intro. Here are the different, things to look for. I want emotional triggers. I want hooks. I want this. I want that. And I basically have it, create all these different intros and then also give me a grade, if you will, out of 10, 1 through 10, on a scale from 1 to 10, which one it thinks will do the best. And then the 2 others. So I have 3 to choose from. I do that. When it comes to thumbnails, I have a thumbnail concept GPT, and that's basically, here's the title of the video. Give me 10 ideas of what the thumbnail should be. I also will pair that with actually going into YouTube and looking at it that way. But it doesn't hurt to get those thumbnail ideas. I'm trying to think of all the different ways that I use it. I use it to inject. So my channel is unique because it's AI Investing Insights with Ron is a channel. And what I'm trying to do is have myself talk most of the time. But I always have what I've called Tiara, which is my AI-like assistant. She also chimes in during the video. So I will use AI to tell me where are the best places for Tiara to chime into the video and give other insights that aren't listed in the video. So then it will do that. So yeah, I really have gone deep down the AI rabbit hole. And then, like I said, that's just on the ChatGPT model. There's other things that I do as well for cross-checking references, facts, etc. So yeah, it's gotten pretty deep, but I use it all the time for that. I still have a human editor. I still have a human that creates the thumbnails. Cause some people are like, oh, you don't even need that anymore. It's, you could just do all AI thumbnails, but everyone else can too. So that's to me, not the best move, but, yeah, I've done quite a few different things, but there's still, humans have to be involved in order to make it, as good as I'm hoping to make it or as big as I'm hoping to make it.
Cool. Ooh, I love that. Thanks for the insight and how you're using it. I don't think I have a single conversation anymore on the podcast where we don't talk about AI to some capacity. It's just part of our life, and it's very much a part of modern business. If you're building anything, there is a way, like you said a while ago, it's coming for your job, not in a scary way, but you just have to be think ahead of the game and say, okay, if AI is going to be factored in, let's not bury our head in the sand. So how can I use it to grow and leverage it in the meantime? So I love that. And even going back to what you were saying, how you're using YouTube really as a top of funnel for other offers and explaining that, I would say the same, again, applies to other social platforms like TikTok, some of these places that will monetize based on views and ads and things like that. You're always going to be better off having that be a supplemental income stream and really focusing on building that personal brand. Are you seeing, I mean, I know you said you've done faceless YouTube channels too, but are you seeing for longevity and for long-term success with any kind of brand, any kind of business, a need for that personal branding? I mean, we're seeing companies that are doing that more so. What do you think really factors into, you said the information is not going to go anywhere. Being able to sell digital programs, coaching, courses, things like that are really going to be around for a long time. I really believe that. For a minute, I thought that was going to go away because we just have information, but I think we always need leadership and context. Yep. So are you seeing that same thing where there needs to be some kind of a personal brand and you're going to stay relevant and stay ahead of the game if you continue to put yourself out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think brands have always been a big deal, right? They were the past, but now they're even more the future, if that makes sense. Again, people buy from people, and that's going to be even more prevalent as AI grows. And to riff off of what you're saying, just, I did faceless channels. I think I did 11 of them, and one of them actually made money. So I don't do faceless channels anymore. So it was, I've tried a lot of experiments to do different things. I don't know how people make it work. Some people talk about how they do so great with it. I don't get it. It's just not a model that I've had success with. So for me, the personal branding is huge. And again, I mean, I'm working with local businesses on a lot of different things. So they want a person to talk to. They don't just want to see some faceless channel that tells them, the 10 best blah, blah, for blah, blah, and then have no one to go to. It's not building trust. It doesn't do anything. So I'm in your camp. I think all that still has a very strong future. To your point about TikTok, Instagram being there and building a personal brand and then selling things. So my wife, who I mentioned, we're actually in the process of launching a pajama brand in Brazil. And this is an exclusive. Not many people know about this, but We're doing it because in the US, it's very big. The pajama brands with influencers is big. We're now going to do it in Brazil, and we're going to be pushing that out relatively soon. That is because even though half the people may not know who she is, again, she's got like 3 million people. If 1.5 million do know who she is, and she's doing this pajama brand, 10% of that, 150,000, break that down to, I don't know, 50% of that, 75,000 potential buyers, it still can be pretty lucrative, right?
Yeah.
So that's a situation where, yeah, she is the brand. She's become the brand. And I have found 1 Hour Professor, which is the brand that I kind of had to recreate my brand. But I found that, I'm getting commission or conversions with affiliate stuff there. I'm getting people reaching out by email and like I said, I'm talking about, hey, I can create your website. I'm doing that. And then, like I said, I'm going to dive deeper into all the different marketing strategies out there too. So there's still a place for it. As long as you have a brand, just know that it makes a lot more sense to really focus on that instead of 10 or 15 or 20 different disparate, faceless channels.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Well, I want to ask you a couple questions. The first being, you said YouTube is the second largest search engine. And so where people are going to Google and they're getting the AI summary, when you say that, and I've really just never thought about this before, it's not that people are Googling and then they click the YouTube videos that come up. People are literally still just behavior. They're going to YouTube to search for things. So
Yep.
as long as you're having highly relevant content, and like I think you even said in the beginning, once they see a video, they're more likely to see more videos. The algorithms are so much more
Yep.
favorable in that way, even without someone subscribing. So are you seeing that you think behaviors of consumers are still going to stay going to places like YouTube when they have generative AI? They can go ask those questions there. Do you see people still loving the long form content and wanting to consume and watch it from real people? Obviously, or you wouldn't be doing this, but have you seen any studies on that, or what's kind of your hot take on why you think that's going to continue to be relevant if Google has kind of become obsolete in many ways?
I mean, I think it becomes, you have to look at the query that someone's searching. If the query is, can dogs eat peas? Okay, yeah, they can use generative AI or they can use, search AI for that. That's not
Yeah.
something that's difficult, right? But if you're talking about, how to actually create a pea pie or, or super random, people are going to want to see that, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just better to see it. Like, yeah, you can read it on screen, but like me, I can't tell you how many times I've rewatched the same video of Gordon Ramsay creating the perfect burger. I've done it so many times. I should have the thing memorized. I still don't. I'd probably watch that thing 10, 15 times because every time I pay attention to the moment and then I walk away and then I come back to it. So I think that there's certain use cases where video still makes a lot of sense. I think that behaviors, I actually think that like YouTube and that I think will get even bigger as all this plays out because again, people are going to crave people like people, especially when everything's AI. It's a really simple example, but if you call somebody or you call a business and they have an AI chatbot that is just annoying you beyond belief because you're just like, oh my God. And then you're screaming agent into the phone, agent. And I do this all the time because it's like, I have a very obscure question. That's why I called you. I know you can't cover this. So just give me a person. And that's in my eyes, kind of the same way that content creation is going to go. It's going to be all this stuff that's written out. It's going to be all this AI and everyone's going to say, I know this is AI. I don't care. I want to see a person, an actual human being. That's going to be something that's, basically going to, as this whole shift happens, that might be the minority is human beings versus robots. And a lot of people
Yeah.
are going to be hesitant to that. And I think that those personal connections, the brands that you make, those things are going to shine through pretty much everything. So I think the user behaviors will pretty much continue, but maybe even accelerate in people looking to connect with people and brands over the long term, which again, yeah, that's why I'm doing it. So
Yeah. Well, an entertainment value too, right? Like I love reading and I love audiobooks, but there's still sometimes my lazy brain that has now become accustomed to being able to scroll and have constant dopamine hits. I would so much rather watch the movie. I'm like, please make this really
yep,
good book into a movie because we
yep,
will always have a desire to be entertained. And so I think even that crossover with infotainment, you can deliver good information in an entertaining way and create value beyond just what you're saying and the presentation of it. I agree with you. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. If anything, we'll be drawn to it even more because we're just so much text and data that we're going to want the brain break of just watching or being entertained. So yeah, I love that. I just want to do like kind of a mini deep dive a little bit on if somebody wanted to start a YouTube channel. I think you've demonstrated a really great way to start is to focus less on maybe initially having something to sell of your own, but a step above the ad revenue, having affiliate marketing. So would you recommend somebody stay in their lane? What are you already passionate about? What can you talk about? What do you love? Or what research did you do to discover, hey, this is a really great niche. I'm going to focus on this, make a channel about it. There's a lot of affiliate opportunity. Like, what are some of the things you look at with the bigger picture to create a profitable YouTube channel?
Yeah, so with me, I might be a little bit different because I'm trying to create this into like a big brand, something that can, I can do 5, 10 years down the road as I get older and more wrinkles show up. That's what I'm really looking to do. Some people might just say, hey, this is kind of a hobby. It's kind of a side thing. And I just kind of want to do this a little bit. It really depends on what your goal is. But in my particular instance, I wanted to do a finance channel for literally probably 5 years. I've just always had this weird interest in finance. It's just one of those things that like I would do in my free time. Friends would ask me about it. It's just one of those things that would always kind of eat at me and be in my head. So like that was one of the main reasons why I got into it. And then I also knew, just based on my background with websites, financial stuff, financial websites pay really well. Display ads, I knew that. I knew there was a lot of affiliate things. I just knew all this, and that's just because of what I was involved in before. So I have a little bit of an unfair advantage in that regard. For anybody that's, really looking to start, the biggest thing, and I just did this myself. I focused on finance, too broad. Have to go into investing. I hired a coach to help me with this stuff. I have to go into investing, and that's what he's telling me. And he's obviously worked with hundreds, if not thousands of people. So it's a situation where you definitely want to niche down. You want to focus. I would say the biggest thing to think about, because every time you see on YouTube, you see, how much YouTube paid me for my first 30 days while monetized, or I made $1,000 from YouTube last month. Here's why. It's almost always just the ad revenue. So it's not that you have to do any of the additional things right at the beginning. You don't have to monetize it all, but you should, before you start, sit down and think, okay, so ad revenue will be nice. That's great in my eyes to just pay for production expenses, your editor, all these different things, software, whatever. It's great for that. But you have to at least think about, what else can I possibly monetize with? What else can I possibly do if this goes as big as I'm hoping, right? I think that's one of the biggest things that people need to focus on that they don't. They just think they're going to make the ad revenue and get millions of views. And quite frankly, most of you are not. I hate to burst that bubble. It's just more difficult than that. But even if they do, that ad revenue, again, is bottom of the barrel. So just sitting there and thinking about it and doing an exercise and thinking, or have a discussion with ChatGPT, which I have had myself, and telling it, this is what my channel idea is. And, how do you think that I can monetize this? And there's some good ideas in there. And it's, maybe not perfect, but just thinking about it. And I always recommend that you have 3 different monetization buckets. That's something I do with websites. I do it with this. It's just a nice way. And if you can somehow one day get to 33, you're in pretty good shape, and your mark or your business is defensible.
So I'm assuming those 3 things would be what you've covered: ad revenue, affiliate sales, and then selling your own products, coaching, physical products, whatever it may be. A good even split between those.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking to get. Right now, my channel costs me like $1,000 a month. So, right now I'm not making $1. I'm losing money. Well, I'm not losing. I'm investing. But yeah, so in the beginning, that's kind of my thought process. But who knows? Maybe I'll do something, and I'll, this doesn't have to be in concrete and like set in stone, right? It's something where you can always say, I'm going to do this, and then all of a sudden, if you see something else, it's like, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what's working over here, and I'm going to change it to this particular thing. And if me, it would end up being like a mastermind or something. Like, yeah, if I can stand that and stomach that, then I'd say, okay, well, we'll do a mastermind for, every member has to pay $200 a month or whatever, something like that. So it just, be flexible in it, but at least when you're thinking about it, think how I can do this. And, consulting is always a big thing in almost every niche. It doesn't even matter. Like, even if you're, even if it's someone who has just a recipe channel, you could still do consulting on how to, cook better, or how to do things perfectly, or, work and workshops, things like that. There's so many different ideas out there, but just get it in your head. It doesn't mean you got to do it right away. Just get it in your head to think about it. And then when it gets to that point, now you kind of have an idea like, oh, here's a North Star. Let's start doing that and going towards that.
Yep. I love that so much. Thank you. This has been such good context moving forward, what people can start to consider in the face of AI. And I've loved hearing the background. It may not be the most viable business model ever now with selling websites, but it's always so fun to hear how people get their start and pivot from that and find new ways to use, because the skills came with you, right? Maybe it's not completely linear. I just saw the cat walk in.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
My wife just saw the cat in.
We're not even going to cut it out. It's so cute. I love it. Yeah, entrepreneurship in and of itself is not a linear path, but I know that there's probably skills and things that you've been able to take with you into building out the YouTube channels, finding new ways to monetize. And I think that's the thing that everybody listening needs to remember is you're stacking, right? You're stacking skills, you're creating more potential for longevity as you pivot and you make those shifts. And pay attention to the opportunities that are right there, the white space, I guess I like to think of it as, where nobody's really looking, or the opportunity could be right in front of you and you're too busy getting distracted. So I think all of what you've shared is super helpful. Where can people follow you? Where's the best place to connect with you after they've listened to the episode?
Yeah, I'm gonna push the AI investing insights with Ron YouTube channel. That's the one I'm gonna push. Only if you're interested in investing. I think that's probably the best place to watch and see what I'm kind of up to, because that's definitely a long-term project that I'm gonna focus a lot on. And anybody that's interested in that stuff, I'd love to have you over there and talk a little about stock market, a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of gold, things like that. So
Cool. Amazing. Okay, we'll link to all that in the show notes. Thank you again, Ron, for coming on and sharing value, sharing your story with us. It's been super fun to listen to.
absolutely. Thanks for having me.